some water now.
Blasphemous attacking shit with my eyes closed. I got a sword for the beat, the way that my mind flows over the street. I'm cold with the eats, I can't control my speeches. Effortlessly squeezing out my mental. I step up on the beat, you know these stencils ain't nothing. Sweet for me to carve, I dig them up out the yard like a body moldy money. Way I'm flipping all these bars like a car where I break the door. Hulk status, rapping, crashing, passing with a pacifist. Rap this like a class of shit. You don't wanna catch the lingo, I've been on the passive shit. I've been trying to rack the shit. Acetatic, additive. I fucked the flow up, I passed the dough up. My man's a thrower, he gotta run. I'm looking slow.
Never slow up, you know that we go up. Something like a rocket, look, going fast and probably they can't clock it. But either way, you know I keep in stock, bitch. Like, never out of ammo, I'm running with some camo. Like, wait, where the fuck you go? Somewhere in the jungle, I don't know. Just some junkies, bro, they was posted in the fucking back. Had to dip off, you know, we just get our shit off. Like, nigga took way too many laxatives, he acting up a bit. I ain't never had no activist, but fuck it, all the activism shit, BLM, you know I see the motherfucking DMs and they be blowing up, you know what's up, you know this shit is never going slow like slugs, but always got the fucking slugs though.
Always got the fucking slugs though. Flip the verse, it's time to start the show. Alright, see, we finessed it.
That was clean, that was hard.
I fuck with that.
That was super hard.
Alright, welcome to Vine Tree Radio. It's your boy West, chilling with
Mauriwowi, how's it going?
You already know we got a guest today. What's your name, man?
Yo, Speakeasy, Pasadena, you feel me?
All right. Man, thank you everybody for tuning in with us. It's a beautiful day outside today. You know, we're all feeling great, good.
It's a good Friday. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you for coming, man. I know it's we had to reschedule a couple of times, and that was, you know, whatever it was. But I'm thankful that we were able to finally sit down here and have this conversation.
Yeah, get it going, that part.
Like as good as this time though, we've had like a lot of people come by. It's a little bit more well oiled, I would say, than the last few times. So we could definitely have some fun on this one and like get into all the ideas and shit around music that we usually talk about. But I think today we could add maybe a deeper twist to it, because the show to me is like about freestyling a lot in the beginning. We've talked about that in mad episodes, and like someone who I started that first like itch with of freestyling and like getting it going was Heike, my man Speakeasy right here. For
that part, yeah.
It was for sure like the first even inclination to do that like in front of people and kind of be like cool with it and like a group in a circle. It was definitely like he was definitely one of the people within the circle, like in the cypher, like that I was rapping with.
Yeah, I remember we was just posted in the spot, like all the way in the cut, just freestyling, like open period, freestyling, bro. I remember me and this fool would like freestyle. We freestyled, we had to do a cross country race, freestyled the whole time. Still not last. Still not last. That was definitely when I was starting to get in my bag for sure.
Yeah,
or just starting to get into it, you know, like just fucking around, having fun.
That was high key like the training days for sure on that tip.
Oh, on
like,
God.
Because I wasn't always in cross country, but I remember like I did that like 1 year or like semester.
That was the only time I did that shit.
Yeah, that was the only time I did it too, for just like exercise type purposes. So a lot of time it did help give me time to be like rapping or whatever within that, because it wasn't like I was focused, I guess, on like trying to be the best at like whatever that.
Who's out there chilling?
Yeah, like I was like, all right,
throw the beat on. Come on, what's going on?
That's sick. Wait. So when you guys were running and freestyling, how was that run? Like, expound on that a little bit more.
It was, I mean, like the thing was, we weren't really like going at a fast pace. So like we was kind of just like chilling, like low key in the back, and we was just going like back and forth like the whole time. Like I don't even think we really stopped rapping the whole time.
That's hard. Nah. That's super cool.
Because it was one of those, like, I think we had to do one, and we didn't really want to do one. It was like, to be able to just chill there, you had to like run one. Mm-hmm. So we were like, all right, let's just get this one out the way. But when we got that one out the way, you know, we're obviously going to throw some music stuff in it. So that was like real. And it was like at that point in time, I would say that was maybe not the beginning of it. I feel like I was like kind of oiled in some sense by then, because we were like, I was able to do that. I was like, fuck.
We were doing it like a little bit before that. Like I remember it was like you, me, Jelani, like always rapping, bro. Always rapping.
High key. That was like I was even thinking about a little earlier, like when you were in the bathroom, I forgot about this. How like, bro, we used to, I don't know how good I was at this, but you had like a regimen. You know how people have regimens on like writing this many freestyles, spitting this many riddens a day. And bro, I feel like it was you that put me on it, and I think you used to really like do it all the way though.
That was for sure. I think that was like my senior year, and like I think it was like every single day I would write 4 pages in my composition book. Just fill 4 pages. Like, it don't matter if it's garbage. It don't matter if it's like I really fuck with it. It's just like, let's get this out. Let's get this out in class. I'm not even paying attention. I'm just trying to get these bars out. You feel me? I still got those notebooks too.
That's sick.
Yeah.
Wait. So you do 4 pages a day for how long? Like, how long did you do that for? Do you still do that?
Nah, I don't do it anymore. The most nowadays I'll try to do is like, you know, like I'll try and be like, make a certain amount of beats, or like the most it's carried over is like I'll try and make a beat every day in a month, like every few months or so. But I think I did that, if not for a semester, like the whole year.
Okay.
Something like that. Like I definitely kept it up for like a good bit, and I'd really be on it. Like, gotta fill out the 4 pages. You know, it's like hitting the gym. You feel me? Like,
see, that's when I was on my riddens per se, because I feel like I freestyle, but I didn't really have faith in it like how I do to this day, like kind of on some like, oh, that's what I want to do. It was more so just like, oh, I do it for practice. But at that time, my dad definitely put me on the riddens because I was like writing and it was all right, but that made me get better at it because I was like, I started going at it at a repetitive basis, like seeing what I couldn't do. And then the freestyle aspect I would get when I would go kick it with like this one track, and I'll be like, all right, like, well then try this, like what's up like what's up with this.
Very cool. So for both of you, how do you feel like your approaches to freestyle has changed, like from when you first started to now? You know what I mean? Like from those days in track when you guys were running with, like, was it certain topics that go in your head, or just certain ways of starting it, ways of getting into it? How has that changed from those early days to, you know, now to how you approach this last freestyle, this one that you just started the show with?
I mean, for me, I'd say like, I don't know if my like the method to the madness has changed too much. You know what I'm saying? I think like, if anything, the only thing that's changed, if not the approach, is just like the comfortability of being able to like, you know, not only just like hop in, but like you just going and switching it up, like, you know, like you like way more like confident with it. I think if anything, that's probably the only thing that has changed. Although like recently I have tried like practicing a different kind where it's like you pull up like the I saw this from Harry Mack. You pull up like the random word generator, and you try and like you just gives you one word at a time, and you try to like, the punchline is the word that it gives you, so you got to like rap one line, and then the next line is the one that you see in front of you, so you can set up your bars and stuff. And that's honestly just been this past week. But other than that, I just be hopping in and flowing and, you know, like feeling a groove.
Okay, very cool.
I think
What about you?
for me, I feel like similar to, not too much has changed, but if anything, I would say the way that I switched like from flows to flow, like I've always feel like I have more flow than maybe, like nowadays I always feel like I have maybe more flow than what I was saying. But then when I was first rapping, I felt like I was saying more than how I was flowing. Like I was like, there was more like words to it, wordiness, but then like I wasn't as flowing as much. And then now I think I really for sure lead with the flow, and I don't focus on what I'm saying. But I don't know if that's necessarily new, because I would say that kind of goes back to how I was originally doing it when I didn't know what I was doing. I kind of now I tap into that more. If I say if anything's different, is that now I tap into that part of it more when it's like I'm tired, and when I'm like running, like I understand that's where like the best stuff kind of comes from, because it's like I'm not trying. But
It's like instinct almost, you feel like?
yeah, like I tap in a little bit more to instinct. I think that's the only different thing, is that like at that point in time, I was a little bit more interested in like the memorization aspect of freestyling, and I was never really good at that, where it's like people can memorize their bars and verses, and like
I had a homie who anytime we'd be like kicking it, freestyling, smoking, whatever, like he would always be like, all right, I got this written right here, and like he'd have that like ready to go, like, you know what I'm saying?
that's a
like,
thing. That's kind of like a weird muscle within itself. I never was able to grasp around that. I kind of almost considered that freestyling to some degree, because it's like you're piecing together things. My way of doing that, I think, is the different pockets I'm able to switch into. Like now, I think I used to not be as confident with that, and like when I was freestyling with the homies and stuff, I wouldn't be like, oh, I could switch to this flow or that flow, because I'd be like, I'm gonna fall off.
Nah, yeah.
Now I'm more like, I'm more like approach it that way. Like, oh, okay, like since I'm not thinking about it, I could just switch to this flow.
Confidently just kind of going with the vibe and
Yeah,
seeing where
yeah,
it takes.
yeah.
Okay, hell yeah. Very cool. Very cool.
If anything, one thing I did parallel I made going back to this whole process of this, I feel like some degree going to how you make music and your process of making beats is kind of like how when we were originally making stuff, that's kind of, I feel like a little bit how you leveled up in some way as far as like even not caring if it was good or bad, just like making them.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
like just kind of like getting that flow. You talk about that a lot.
Yeah, like definitely not to the extent of, you know, dedicated like one a day, but for a good amount of time, I always just try to tap into making as much as I can when I'm in the zone. I'm inspired to do so. And there's I keep in the same vein as you. Like, it doesn't matter if it's trash, doesn't matter if it's good. Just gotta make it. And then you keep it, and like even if it's trash, you keep it to the side, and it might be trash now, but you can always revisit it later, and it's like, ooh, maybe there was something that I could rework and make it into gold. You know what I mean? Like, make it into something nice. So there's always that aspect of it. And I'm also kind of like the way of you guys, like when I'm approaching, even when I'm writing music or writing like the instrumentals and stuff like that, like a lot of times it starts off as a freestyle. Like for me, it actually almost always starts off as a freestyle, doing something, finding a loop that I like from what I did and being like, okay, I'll run that back and then kind of build off of that. But it's always going with that initial of just flow, getting into, which kind of goes into what more so like how you guys work now. It seemed like sense because you were saying like the relation to earlier, and it was kind of, I mean, it kind of works on that sense in the earlier where like there is some premeditation to it, but it is mostly just like what's the feeling of the moment.
That's a little bit hella where I'm closer to now.
Yeah, like what's the vibe? Like let's just catch the vibe and start floating with it, you know?
Hell yeah.
I feel that.
Even with beats, for me, I've always had a struggle with like get the technical side of them. That's why it's kind of cool that I like linked with Mauricio within this stuff, and like being able to work with other people, because that even unlocked me exploring stuff on beats, because I kind of approach it that way too, where it's like I could find a loop or something that I like, or like a rhythm, but it's kind of hard for me to like find the like create something like the whole like quantize it and shit. You know what I mean?
An arrangement.
But I
and all
can
that
find where
goes in.
something is like supposed to go and what other parts are supposed to go together. Like, okay, you should start by having this part repeated. You know what I mean?
Honestly, I'm not a fan of quantizing, but I see what you mean, like the arrangement of things and where it's supposed to go. Because quantizing, I feel like to an extent takes away like the live feel. So if anything is ever done live, if I ever perform something live, I won't quantize it, just because it takes away like a certain oomph to it. But if it's like something that was programmed in, like sometimes if you're writing in certain notes or something like that, like it'll just naturally be put onto a grid depending on what kind of software you're using. So those will just automatically be kind of more structured. But
would you say, do you play like all of your stuff, like any of the beats and stuff? Is that you playing, or is it like more loops that you find, or how do you?
It honestly depends, especially like on my earlier stuff, like everything from the first album and most of the stuff from the second album was all stuff that I played like live, more like loops that I played live. And I still do that to an extent, but like I like lately I've been resampling a lot of old stuff, and because like honestly ever since I found Ableton, you know, through school, like that really, because
we can talk about that later too, because I remember, just to peek this in, he was telling me a little bit ago that he's been producing on Ableton but on PC. And I was like, I remember when we all linked that, like we weren't even on Ableton, and I was telling him how you were just starting to, or you were interested, but we were on Pro Tools. Remember, like, so it's interesting, come full circle. It's like now you use Ableton, and now he uses Ableton.
Yeah, I love Ableton.
It's the shit, honestly. I love it. I mean, I've been through all of them, and I still use each one of the other DAWs, you know, in their for when I need it, respectively. But if it comes down to it, like Ableton is my daily driver, like the one that I rely on the most. Because honestly, the simplicity of sampling, and so like all that old stuff, like I was talking about, where I kind of, even the stuff that I feel like it's trash or it's gold, but it's just kind of sitting in the vault, now I can kind of revisit it and rework it a lot easier for me, just like having learned the workflow for Ableton. So I love it.
I think the workflow for Ableton's like really easy, and like as far as like flow goes, like chopping something up or like throwing effects on something, like it's not really hard to like get around and figure it out. And it has like a whole lot of, it makes it so you can customize any sound a lot. So I fuck with that.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Definitely. I definitely started like producing a little bit on there too on my Mac. Like if anything, I think the last beat or whatever that I did work on was from there with Lone Wolf. It was like Lone Wolf with Hank Sweets.
How do you like the differences between Ableton and the last DAW you were using? Like what is the differences for you? Because like for myself and my friend here, Speakeasy, like it seems like he's become a little bit more familiar with Ableton, and so I know that you're just getting over, like I know you already passed that first hump, but you're like starting to get really diving into it.
Now I'm getting over to like the volume hump.
Yeah.
Like with the other screen. Yeah.
So like it's kind of like I want to see how your transition's been and how you feel about like when it comes to producing. Does it alter your approach?
I'd say it not. There was like a gap for a while. It looked more confusing in comparison to like Logic's build, like GarageBand type outlay, because that's what I'm used to. And I would say like there I can kind of like, the main difference is like I can use the keyboard very easily on Logic and stuff, like the actual like typing. I could like produce a beat as if it's like the piano, but on my keys I feel like. And on Ableton it's more like I really gotta like act like it really is a DAW, like I'm really plugging stuff into it, you know what I mean? I think that's the main difference. It just feels a little bit more like because you have to pull up the other screen of like the Analog Lab and like, you know what I'm saying? Like it feels a little more going into it, but that also feels official in a sense. And I feel that maybe after a while I got past that initial curve and it didn't really seem that much different. I think the only curve I still see is like I like the drum sounds better, but maybe not exactly how to like put the drums in
Keep
it.
the curtain back. Oh, my bad.
Is the phone okay?
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. But I think the drum sounds I like, they sound better, but I don't necessarily like how I have to put them in better. I mean, I don't like the way they go in there better. Like I think I like some of the features that like Logic's has on like that whole live drum thing and like.
Yeah, that live drummer honestly is pretty crazy. It's
I think Logic has a lot of good sounds. I'm honestly not a fan of the stock Ableton sounds. Like a lot of like the drum sounds and stuff. Like I usually pull stuff off of Splice just because I don't like what they already have in there. I don't have Max. Do you have Max?
What's Mac?
It's like the top tier of like, you know how there's like light and then sweet and then like Max is like everything is
I don't
on
have that.
I
think you do though.
I have sweet, and I think Max comes with like some extra like sounds and whatever. Of course, like the higher level of DAW that you purchase, like you get more sounds. But
I got light. I'm a real one.
I feel that's where I started out. Actually,
Same. I started on light as well.
When I first started, my homie had a Mac, and he was like, "Oh yeah, like I have like he had a cracked version." And he was like, "Oh yeah, like I could get you the cracked version, like no problem." Would not download on my computer. I think it was because it was Mac to PC. So it was like, I'll just get the light, and anything I do, I'll just record it on my phone and then say goodbye on to the next one.
That's hard though. I mean, I fuck with it. The one thing about what were we just?
We're talking about Ableton and DAWs.
I missed. Oh.
The nerdy shit.
Oh, we're talking about the samples. I feel like each DAW has like its plus and minuses, but like you said, Logic undoubtedly, if you're talking about like the three major ones like Logic, Pro Tools, and Ableton, Logic takes the cake without a question. Like it has such a great sample library. Honestly, there's songs that I've started in Ableton and I go to Logic specifically for like specific samples just because it's like I know it's nice that, like you said, it's easy. There's certain things that are just super simple to get into, and
I feel like the mixing is tough for me on that end. Like when I gotta take it from just making the beat though to it sounding like cool,
crispy.
Logic sometimes like hinders me in that. I feel like
for that, I feel like it comes down to like user interface, because all of them for that, when it comes to that kind of stuff, it's like, are you using like the compression, the EQs, and all those other plugins, so on and so forth. And I mean, unless you're using like if you're using native plugins, there is certain ones that are superior, I suppose, to other ones. But they all have pretty good, like all three of the major ones have pretty good native plugins for when it comes to like their EQs, their compressors, their limiters, so on and so forth, like the basic stuff. But, the beauty about all these things is that there's plugins. So you like all this stuff is just the base stuff, but a lot of like once you get really deep and dive into it, like it's all these little things that you add into it, like the plugins, like you were talking about the Analog 4, or like that's like an example of like an instrument plugin that you could drive in and you can bring stuff from other ones, so you can always like mix and match, you know what I mean? And like Ableton always felt like it's great for like mix and matching stuff. Like it has a really easy interface for like bringing all those mixing matching, so that's why I love it, because you can bring in little things from here like plugins or samples and kind of
put them and like put them all together and make something like one thing that's a product of all of it, you know?
Exactly. While you can do that with all the other ones, it's just what I was saying is when it comes down to like that, like mixing and editing and stuff like that, like it's about user interface and like the
Shout out
interface.
to Kenny Beats on that. I will say that he was a big proponent of me believing in Ableton and understanding the capabilities of all the other sounds being able to be in one area. I definitely was big on understanding it that way, because I was like, oh, this isn't just that DAW. He just uses all his stuff that he's accumulated and uses this one as the fastest one to use them.
Exactly. Yeah.
It really comes down to once you start getting comfortable with the DAW, like when you're able to just get into that zone like you're talking about and just be like, oh, I want to do this, I know exactly where to go. I want to do this, I know exactly where to go, you know? And you don't have to think about it. It's kind of just, it's part of the flow. It's just instinct. Like you're just going, do this, add that, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, to have a little segue, we can maybe tap into, I had a question, what was it like for you in the stew the first time remember how when we were like coming up and you were already going to the stew? Like I was in school and he would be telling me how he's recording. So before I was recording, and then even then when I was recording, but you didn't live out here, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like I want to know a little bit about what was that experience like. I know in this pod I've shared like my experience in the early first stew moments and days and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out to the homeboy Visions. I started recording with him like back in the day, and it would just always be on some like cool vibes, you know. Back then we weren't producing yet, like, and we didn't have a producer, so everything we had was just like, I'm a real like type beats kind of kid. Like I really fuck with type beats, always have, probably will, at least, you know. It's always fun to, because I came up with freestyling. That's how it all started, and we freestyled the type beats. So it would just be, you know, like getting to the studios, you know, it was at the homie's house, and like, you know, we would like pull up. This was back when I was smoking, no longer smoking, but, you know, pull up, chill, you know, smoke a little bit, catch a vibe, and then throw on some beats. And then we'd kind of just be going back and forth, just freestyling, trying to find something that we really, really vibe with. And we might pick one, start writing, and be like, nah, scratch that, find another one. And then find another one. And like, once we finally get one that's cracking, then, you know, speakers up all the way, is going up, like, we're writing, and then, you know, deciding, you know, who goes on first, and then, you know, just like going from there. But even back then, I was never like on the boards because we were using Pro Tools back then, and I would just like pull up, like record. He kind of showed me what to do like here and there, but as far as like the edits go, and like I don't even think we were really using effects back then, but it was always like he was the one who was like working that, because he had the DAW for X amount of time before. So as far as getting on the mic, that shit was low-key difficult at first, because you got to find your voice, you know what I'm saying? So anything that like you rap, like you could rap something, and then you could like, you could write something and then rap it and be like, okay, that sounds cool, and then you get on the microphone and you're like, that did not translate to what was in my head. So I think that was like my first big like not roadblock, but like obstacle, to be like, how do I figure this out? Like, what's my tone? How am I rapping? You feel me? Like, how do I find a pocket? Like, shit like that, you know? But always a good time, shit, smoking weed, recording, and just, you know, do that shit all over again. Actually, with the type beats shit, it's funny because we found this one beat, and we really fucked with it, thought we downloaded it, and then we couldn't find it anymore after like, I think it was maybe like a few days. Yeah. We were like, where's the download? Let's go back online and like download it again. Fuck it, you know, easy. Crazy days. Easy call, yeah, exactly. And it was like, all right, well, shit, we can't find it. We don't know where it is. It was a fire beat, swear. And then ended up, we looked on a computer, like searched that shit, and we found it. So we wrote something, I think we called that track Third Eye Revolutions, and then not like a few months later, Joey Badass comes out with the track Christ Conscious. same beat. Exact same beat. And I was like, damn, that's crazy. Like, great minds really think alike. Of course, he bodied the shit out of that.
That beat went crazy. I remember that.
Song
that was
went,
an era.
That song went crazy, and it was just like, damn.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, that song was slapping. That was one of those songs that used to come on in places, I feel like, where they wouldn't even bump Joey Badass.
Yeah, exactly.
And it would just come on and be like, what?
Microphone check. Like, that shit legendary right there. Just the fact that we found the same beat on some, like, type beat kid shit, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I know what you mean, though. There was a few songs like that. That happened to me, but it was like somebody way less dope. It was like a cool story, though. It was like, I think it was like, it wasn't Lil Yachty, but it was like Lil Yachty put out like a compilation album with like his crew or whatever, and like it was like a group song with like all of them, and then the beat was like, or no, well yeah, it was them, but then I went to go, I seen his show or something when I was like a long time ago, and it was like they were performing with him, and then one of them did another song to some beat that they performed, and it was like a song I had already put out to a type beat on like YouTube. And it was like a beat, and I was like, damn, that's crazy. That's that beat. Like,
that's the one. That be tripping you out. Like,
everyone's be checking out those the type beats, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. You'd be surprised at who be checking them out.
I've heard like the big names, the ones that have like the ones that the X type beats, like they will go and just look up themselves, be like, all right, you know, like say like a J. Cole might go on there and be like, all right, J. Cole type beat. Not to say that he does, but just for an example, like just to see what pops up, and it's just like, oh shit, like this does sound pretty fire, like something I would be on. Like,
I feel like it's like,
and a lot of people jump on them.
It's the cool version of Googling yourself.
Kinda,
yeah. Which kind of like, let me see what I sound like to other people. Like,
okay, I feel like that's even, like you said, it is a cool version of Googling yourself, because it's kind of like, it's a cool perspective. Like you said, like, what do people think that I sound like and how they want to imitate me? If they're if someone's trying to be you, what is it that they want to be about you? Kind of, you know?
Yeah, like they look into that and they're like, oh, it's this?
Yeah.
All right.
It'd be bugging me, like, though, like when I look up, like, let's say like a Mac Miller type beat, and it's always like, you know, his newer like Circles type vibe, or like the more acoustic, like laid back stuff, and it's like, I want like the Programs type shit, like I want like the Macadelic, like,
yeah,
gotta look at Faces type beat.
Oh god, yeah. Like, where are those at? You feel me? But like you said, it is like people's interpretation of like, what does this person sound like? What is their sound like?
That is a big part, I feel like, of transitioning anyways, and like the whole process of like kind of recording. Like, there was that whole phase of like all the type beats and finding your voice, and I feel like all that kind of really went hand in hand for me, because I feel like I kind of was rapping like Joey and stuff at the time when I was really into it, but then everybody, whoever their favorite rapper or artist was kind of like in that time rapping like them, trying to find the beat that would kind of be like yeah. So I feel like that whole time period kind of flowed like that, and I feel like I want to know, maybe for you, how did you transition into kind of like really getting into your own voice back in the studio? Because I know for me it was like a long process, like it didn't really come until much later from that time. But for you, I feel like you kind of got into that bag. You stayed within like a lane that then you developed still into that bag. Like, yeah, I had to change it up mad different times to figure out what I was on.
I think just because of like how I came up in like just always ciphering and shit. Like, I remember like the homie back in the day was like, yeah, bro, it's gonna take you a long time to like find your sound and find it. I was like, man, I got it. You like, don't trip, like it's all good. But like when it really came down to it, it was always like you said, like a certain type of, it was like that hip hop bag, and I feel like that's kind of like where I was comfortable in. And at that point it was kind of just like, okay, yeah, it's a hip hop bag, but you know, I think I put out like 2 mixtapes, and like going back and listening to the mixtapes, you know, like the only couple things that's like changed in like the lane and how it's switching is like the flow's more developed, you know what I'm saying? Like the wordplay is crisper, like definitely like the sound quality and like the quality of my voice. But I think that just came from like pushing myself to like do it so many times. And like anytime I would kick it with the homie, like we'd be making a track. Like anytime I was just chilling at my house, I'd be like, you know, I'd be like writing, like trying to make a track. I don't know how many tracks I have on my computer that haven't been released, but I just feel like it's that vaulted like process. Like when it's good and it's gold, like that's when it's time to put it out. So as far as the lane, and even then, I don't even think that I'm at I'm in like fully in my bag yet, because I feel like, you know, everything stages, and a lot of the stuff I had before is probably like maybe like more introspective, like hip hop, and then now it's kind of like evolving and changing and like taking different routes. Of course, like based in that, but I feel like it's getting like, you know, like a little bit more hype, you know, a little bit more like not only listenable, but like hopefully like replayable and shit like that. But I think it just comes with like the focus and like where my mind is when I'm like putting my effort into that music. You feel me?
Definitely. I feel like I feel like I've definitely went through like journeys with that as far as with my music, where it was on my super duper introspective like bars bag, but then sometimes I feel like I drifted into kind of just trying to make some stuff that was maybe more like just fun, but at the same time I wasn't necessarily putting that much effort into it on the whole, like just concept wise, business wise. And then eventually I realized I wanted to do it like a lot of different things. I think that's where me and Mauricio related a lot, that like we met around the time where I was like, damn, I don't really want to do one thing. So I don't know how I could do that, but I feel like that was making it harder for me to try to like figure out the one thing I was doing. Once I was like, oh, I could do a bunch of different things, it kind of like
it's liberating,
opened me up in a different way. I was like, oh
yeah, no, I feel you. It's because you feel like you got that option of like, who cares? Like, I don't have to stick to one thing. If like I fuck with this, I'll do this. If I fuck with that, I'll do that. You know what I mean? Which is dope. But it also kind of, it's interesting because it ties into so I was thinking about this as you were talking about like the Mac, for example, the Mac type beats, right? And how a lot of them revolve around the circles and like the newer era Mac Miller. And it's interesting for when you have artists that are really that diverse, such as a Mac Miller, and when they hell yeah, the boy,
R.I.P.
But definitely rest in peace.
I spilled some beer out for him. That's for you, guy.
But him being such a multi-talented artist and going into so many different lanes, and so when people, how we're talking about like how people see them, what do they sound like, and when it's interesting to see like what it is that people take away from certain artists, especially from the artists that are so varied, because there's certain artists that are a little bit more, you know, sticking into one lane or you know, to a smaller lane, and so within those niches you can kind of see like, okay, I could see what people, it's an obvious sound, everyone was kind of taking kind of roughly the same thing from it, but when you get to an artist like a Mac Miller or something like that, where they're so varied, it's like, wow, they really were taking it in different veins.
He was definitely evolving. I'd say that for sure, because the stuff that he had later was way different than, anything that he was coming out with before. And I think that's a beautiful thing in itself, like that evolution and that like changing, like you're not staying the same. Like it can't be the same because you want to figure out different ways to do it. And like you were just saying right now with like you can go anyway, so why would you just stick to one bag? Like I feel like that is part of my like journey and figuring out right now, like no, it's not like just hip hop anymore. So like what is it? Like I guess at that point there's no need to categorize it as much as there's a need to just do it and put it out and let the people decide for themselves, you know? Because I have songs with your girlfriend, and they'll be like, you know, some of them will be like really fun, or some of them will be like more like mellow, like love based, or I have like the really hype party ones, you know what I'm saying? And I think thank you, and I think like that variety, like especially like stuff that you guys do and stuff, like the variety is really important, you know what I'm saying? Because it can't just sound like Griselda has the one sound, you know what I'm saying? Like you were saying, like some people are just stuck in one sound. Like you think of Griselda, you look up the beat, you're like, yep,
that's like the main critique people have like of them. It's just like maybe the variety I feel like sometimes lacks, but then it's like they give you a flair sometimes of like a certain project, but it'll only be on like a West Side Gun project. It's like the other guys will very much stay in the pocket, and then like West will kind of give you some shenanigans, but like
he got the shenanigans,
but that's
Shelley.
it.
They're great at what they do, but that's that. They're great at what they do. You know what I mean? They don't do much outside of that lane. But it's cool.
They are very like extra lane guys. Even within that, like West is like, he's like, I'm fashion lane, like he's like good at that.
Yeah, Conway.
He dropped his last song was like named Julia Lang. Like he's like, I'm gonna just stick with this.
Yeah, Kanye with Machine is like drugs.
Yeah, he's like,
but
his, I would notice his last few projects artistically though, you gotta peep the way he was rapping. He's starting to get better. He's starting to get a lot better. Conway.
Yeah.
Benny is starting to get. He's always been good, so I feel like he's starting to slow down, which is burning me out.
Nah.
I feel like he's starting to just kind of like stay like firm his pocket in. You know what I mean? But because he's just always been good, so it's just kind of just more solidifying this.
I think
Conway is like the guy that's like earning it back. He's starting to be like, wait, like, you know, at the end of the season when you see like who's really like going off.
That last run, like I still got it in me.
Every time I hear his new albums, there's like a few songs like that where he's like, all right, I gotta do something to set myself apart. Like,
he got one on Shady left. He got an album on Shady Records that he got to get out. I'm excited for that one.
I think it's coming soon.
Yeah, he's the last one.
like he starts to sing and shit on certain songs.
Which is dope. I love it. I love that they're pushing themselves, and I love that you can see, because you know there's you see all their discography. You can see when they start to push themselves, and you see when they start to evolve, and then maybe they're saying like, all right, we've done all this for a while. Maybe it's time for us to go into another lane, and it's dope. I love seeing that, but I also the thing is,
you can set a standard.
I love it from an artistic standpoint, because I see it. Because like being an artist, I get it. I'm in the same wave. Like I want to do whatever I want to do, but then I see it. Like sadly, all of this falls into like the music business aspect of it. Like I see why people fall into these niche categories where they feel so inclined to stay within a certain lane, because they have to appeal to that lane and to grow their base and to solidify their base. So like, all right, no, this is what we do. Which I understand every brand has to really have that to an extent, but I feel like some brands narrow themselves so hard, and I understand it that like that narrowing is beneficial to an extent, because you can really target that set of people that you really want to target. But it's just kind of like, it sucks because music can suffer from it. There's certain artists that have the potential for greatness, but then they get stuck in this business aspect where they're like, they're most inclined to do the sound because now they've built this base so strong around this sound that if they veer too far away from it, their fan base that they've put so much time and effort into building is gonna be like, whoa.
Yeah, you can't take like, you can like air quote like risks. You can't take risks with your sound at a certain point. In like when you have an audience or you're like signed to a label and it's like, this is what you do, this is what the people expect, and we're gonna get numbers what is it called? Like pre-sale numbers based on like what you do and what you expect. And if you're not living up to that, it's like, all right, bye. Like, say goodbye to your contract, you know, like.
Bro, you guys are reminding me of like an artist that I remember you putting me on back in the day that I feel like did this exact, like Dizzy Wright, bro.
Oh,
and I wanted to talk about that.
Okay.
Because I was like, I remember, bro, we used to really be like big fans of him back in the day.
Bumping him heavy.
Like, and I feel like he marketed too niche though. That's exactly what happened to him. He like was like marketing himself to be like, and he was doing it. Like it was like he was doing shows. It was like the same people. They would maybe even be diehard enough to come to multiple shows and like buy multiple things and like, but it was like the real independent grind to the point where it was like, even musically as a fan, I was like, damn, this was just gonna keep giving me the same thing.
Yeah, it's just like it's like just repackaged.
Yeah,
like,
it's just like repackaged again. Like,
but even then, like it's crazy like how we were just talking about, and I feel like he dropped a song recently and it was more on some like trap shit, and I was like, oh come on man, that's not you. Yeah,
bro. But
like,
that's not, switch it up.
That's not fair. You feel me? Like, you should be able to switch it up. I'm over here. That's not you, bro.
Like,
come on, bro.
Like, that ain't really hard. I want the old dude.
But it's because they've built themselves to be in, you know, this certain light where they paint themselves like, all right, this is who I am, what I do. And so when they veer too far, it's kind of like, and
I miss the old Kanye.
Exactly. But Kanye's a great example of like someone who consistently pushes himself in different ways, you know, and people now look. And the thing also, there's a caveat to it, because like everything, it's a spectrum, right? There's the really bad end of it is like you can get too niche or you can be also too open and too, which also like
Kanye. I was gonna say there's an argument for Kanye within that regard. Like.
Exactly, that's what I was gonna go with it. Is that you get to a point where you keep going into so many different. You keep spreading yourself so wide that it's hard to see where to spread next. You know what I mean? And it's it also sets up an expectation where people, when you've become notoriously known for, like, think of I'm trying to think of what's another great example of
Oh, it's almost like, say, artists, like any artist, but like back when they was on some like shock shit, like shock value shit.
Kind of, yeah.
Like you
where
gotta
it's just
keep
like, you
building
gotta-
that up to continue it. It's like, damn, alright, if
Exactly.
all the last songs was like damn shocking, and that's how everything happened. Like, not even though Tyler Creator's a man, I really like his music, but
that's what I was about to
what if
mention.
every song was thinking about like that he had to eat a roach after the end of every
Yeah.
jam? You know what I'm saying? Like, what if that's what he was like known for?
And I feel
Kinda,
like
yeah.
even like another example of like if like so you have Kanye who has like evolved and just kind of gone. You don't know where he's gonna go next. Like you
Which
don't know
is
what's
dope.
coming, but like. Yeah, very dope, very dope. But like Tyler the Creator, he did start out with that like shock value type stuff, and then even now as he's getting like later into his career, like you're starting to see like, oh, there's for real like artist, like all right, there was always artistry behind it, but you know, now compared to his stuff before, like I feel like it's a lot more. Trying to think the word of it, like more artistry and less shock value.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
definitely,
saying?
I
Like
agree.
Igor was a crazy album.
No,
But I
Tyler-
think you're getting at what the danger is in that, because I think he's talked about it, that like he's even rapped about how like that burned him out a lot in his career, that he did that he went that way because of what we're saying, because it felt like he had to keep that up
Yeah.
to continue, and then he was like, he had to be like, damn, I don't really have to, but like I might take a minor L and have to rebuild some shit, but like talent wise, he's like, I could do it. You know what I'm saying? I
Show
could-
these people who I really am.
Yeah.
Like, you know, once it gets to a certain point.
And Tyler's a great example because I feel like he falls into that same category as Kanye. Because like now when we're looking at Tyler for what he's gonna do next, we're looking at it like, all right, Igor was phenomenal. What's it called? Flower Boy was phenomenal. You know, what's it called? Welcome to Death, or not Death Camp. Cherry Bomb was phenomenal.
Cherry Bomb,
everything,
yeah.
like everything prior, all this stuff with. He's always stepped up, even since the early like Odd Future days. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's always been a continuously step up, and so he's continuously like he's growing so much, and he's increasing his production value and increasing his like the lanes in which he's going, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
the stories being told. and
exactly.
things.
So now it's into this. He's falling into that same kind of situation as Kanye, where it's like everyone's looking at him to be wild and to be something that's gonna, like, whatever comes out has to also top off, like it has to expand, and it also has to be bigger than what was done last. You know
Like,
what I mean?
How do you best yourself when you're up there?
It's
that
hard.
when your
high?
brand is besting like the world, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, that's
making
a lot of
some
pressure.
next, like,
It's really hard, and it's great, and it's difficult, but I guess it shows the true talent, true genius, and these people that are able to do it consistently and be able to stand the test of time to be able to keep doing it, like these Tyler the Creators and like, you know, the Kanye West that we're looking at them we're expecting them to do something dope because they've done something dope for years. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like that's
It's
something.
expected. It's like LeBron in the finals. Like, you know it's gonna go down. Album coming
Yeah.
out, you know it's about to happen. Fourth quarter,
Exactly.
come on. Sometimes it'll flop. You can't really.
well, damn. I mean, speaking of Tyler Creator and like great performances, I did want to talk about performing a little bit, because
Oh, for
one
sure.
thing I've been starting to get into with the guests that I've had is their experiences with that. Because I mean, I haven't done as many shows as I would like to. I'm getting out there. Probably only done 3, but I will say, I think I remember. I know you're from Pasadena, and I think you performed at like some areas out there, like
Yeah,
the Old Town Pub.
shout
I was
out.
gonna say,
Yeah, that's
because
the
I know
spot.
some other homies have performed there, and I want to
Mhm.
know how that's like. What is the scene like performing out there? 'Cause we don't really know about it, and it sounds interesting.
I mean, performing out there is as of like recently, it's been a lot of like bar performances, which is always like really interesting, really fun, because, you know, first of all, like, I don't know about like you said you've done a couple shows, but when I go do a show, like, I kind of like to be a little loaded. You feel me? Like a couple beers, you know, a shot or two. So like,
That's all it was.
yeah,
The couple I've done.
Yeah, the bars are a really cool scene to kind of like, you're there, you're chilling. Like, so usually in Pasadena, like whenever I pull up to a show or I pull up to a homie show, like it's like a gang of us pulling up. Like we pulling up like 3-4 cars deep, you feel me, bottled in the trunk, like pre-gaming in the parking lot, and then you pull up and it's like, there's one thing when it comes to doing a show and like nobody in the crowd knows you at all, you know what I'm saying? So like at that point you have to really like, you know, they're gonna be listening and you're gonna get their attention, you know what I'm saying? But like there's just like this other quality to it when there's like the homies in the crowd and like there's that real hype, you feel me? And it's definitely like it gets the crowd like looser, like a little bit faster. So I think that's one thing I appreciate performing in Pasadena, at least, like, it's always a good vibe, always a good time. Like, you're there to have fun, and that's my favorite part about performing. Like, you're really like putting on a show, like enjoying yourself so that other people can enjoy the music. You know what I'm saying?
I definitely feel that. I want to get out there, bro. Like, I feel like that's something I'm like made for, bro. Like, I've only done a few like performances, but it felt like, you know how like people have that feeling where it's like you maybe feel like nervous or whatever, but then when you get on stage, like you hear a lot of people like they feel like comfortable, almost like.
Coda the Friend said, "Home is where I'm good, so I wear my slippers on the stage." I was like, ugh, that's hard.
It's weird, but
that's
yeah,
hard.
it feels very like, it feels very like, I don't know, like almost like, oh, this is what you're supposed to be doing. Like when you get out there, I don't know what it is about that shit. It's like, it's strange. Like it feels like regular.
I think like the craziest thing for me when I'm performing, or like at least I could say like my favorite thing is like, you know, like I'll go to a show at a bar, let's say, and you know, like I'm looking at the crowd, I'm like connecting to the crowd and stuff, and it'll be like people who I don't know, have never met, and they just posted like, you know, like nodding their head and like really vibing with it, and like you could see like that's the point where you could see like, yo, like the music is connecting, like, you know, like they're fucking with it, it's a vibe, like let's go, it's going up, you know.
I like that.
I know, like, the first time I had a show, I used to do shows at, like, marijuana expo events. So you would pull up, and it was in, like, San Bernardino, and it would
still got those?
This was way before Corona, bro.
Wrap it there.
Bro,
those are some
honestly,
dope events, though.
Honestly, because of Corona, but, like, I know a couple people, bro, I could, like, you know, easy call, but, I went the first time, and the homie was like, yeah, and I went by myself. Like, you know, the homies couldn't pull up that time, and, like, my friend who hooked me up was like, oh, yeah, like, you know, like, they're going to start it in a little bit, you know, just walk around, you know, vibe out, take some dabs, you feel me? I took, like, 3 dabs, and then we was getting ready to perform, and I was like, I sat down, I was like, I don't know if I can, man. I'm toasted, bro. I think I might have went a little too heavy, and then as soon as I saw everybody else get up and perform, I was like, oh, it's going up. Like, you know, you catch that vibe, and it's like, easy.
Yeah, that's definitely me. I mean, you said you performed, like, I guess, like, but I don't think we've ever performed, like, our stuff yet, huh?
We haven't performed our stuff together. We've only performed it once. We performed, I don't know if you remember, but we performed at, like, my school for, like, an assignment. That was...
I was burnt out at that because I was nervous.
I was burnt out too, bro. It was such an inch.
I could have been mad doper. I was just nervous, bro, because it was like Mauricio's parents was watching me. There was mad people at the school there. It was like a little school event, and I was just kind of like, you feel me? I was a little, you know, I was like, I don't know what.
Yeah,
like, is this really gonna be like? Because I've never performed this music neither, too.
Nah.
So it's just kind of like, it was just new. That's all it was. It was just like new vibes.
It was new to me as well, and I honestly, it was a very stressful and like anxiety-ridden event. Like, not gonna lie, like I really didn't know how to handle myself for the first time there. But I'm glad it happened because of that. I feel like I learned a lot, and I've mentally prepared myself on what I need to do next for the next performance and stuff.
Yeah, that helped me a lot on that regard as far as like what I need and stuff like that. But at least I felt like I knew the base of what I needed. Like, I knew I just needed to be able to kind of tap into the freestyle aspect. That's something I've learned overall.
Definitely.
That freestyle thing is what helps me kind of be comfortable on stage. Because I feel like would never run out of something to say. Because it's like, all right, if all else fails, you're just coming up with random stuff to say that'll sound all right.
I was going to bring that up because there's been times where, like, I'll go up on stage and I'll, like, completely blank on my verse. You know what I'm saying? But because I've been able to freestyle, I just start freestyling. And then when the hook comes up, I just spit the hook. And then really, like, nobody knows that you're messing up other than you.
Really?
You know, like, you're just there to, like, give them the show. So if you just keep going on seamlessly like nothing happened, nothing happened. You feel me?
I for sure messed up and just kept going.
Dude, it's the only experience I've had with like public performance on like a larger scale other than that like show thing was all for like school related stuff. But when I was like when I was a little kid doing like piano recitals and shit like that.
I only ever did one of those.
I wish I could.
They were fun. They were cool, but I mean, doing that and also doing like performances with like, you know, your classmates in front of like, you know, like winter recitals and shit like that.
Yeah,
like
shit,
that was a big thing at my school.
Little concerts.
Exactly. My school fucking loved those things, bro. They loved having us out there just singing for everybody. But like those two things like help me kind of be more okay with like performing in front of a crowd. But my big thing was, and I think also like you were saying, a big thing is like the freestyle aspect of it, right? And I still haven't been able to figure out how to incorporate that best into our performances, because a lot of things that because I've mentioned this before, where I'm not a huge fan of playing other people's music. I don't like while I can like sit down and read a sheet of music, I prefer not to read other people's music, because it burns me out having to sit down and like memorize or go through the, certain people's things. But also like I found like it falls into the same rhythm as like some of my own stuff. Like even though it's stuff that I like sometimes like that same repetition of practicing it burns me out, because it's like that's not how I made the song. When I made the song, I was freestyling it, I was enjoying it, I was just having a great time. Even when I mix and I edit it, yes, I listen to it like 100 times, whatever, and like it gets ingrained in me. But when I start like going through the motions of like practicing, it's like I like it because, like I said, it is my stuff. It is my stuff, and it's like it's catching that groove. But it's the same essence where it's like I'm not freestyling anymore. So I lose a sense of confidence, and I lose a sense of having fun with it, because I can't really have fun with it, because I'm more focused on like hitting these
like
notes.
not messing up. I know that though.
Do you feel like it's more rigid? Like as opposed like performing the stuff and having to practice the stuff is more rigid than actually making the music and just like having fun and creating,
Yeah, no, 100%. It feels way more rigid for me. The only times that I've had the opportunity was at like say at a friend's party, when I had a little bit, not even a little bit too much. Like I had just had a couple drinks, so I was like, very vibey and down, and so like they had a piano there, and I was like down to play the piano in front of everybody. And when I did that, though, when I did it as a freestyle, and honestly I had a great time, and I was like, and I felt like I was able to perform better because I was able to do what I normally do, is just vibe out and go through with it. But when I started thinking too much of being repetitive on it and trying to like, they were like, oh, that was dope, like you kind of, all right, like that even gets me, like even sometimes when I'm here, sometimes like, and I'm going through a full freestyle, like whoever like family, friends, like they'll be like, oh, that sounds really cool, play that again. And if I focus too much on having to play that again, like it kind of burns it out almost, even in that freestyle, because I'm like, all right, I'm focusing on redoing it again, focusing on this loop or whatever. But then it's like I don't play loops. Like I don't want to sit here playing this loop. I want to play this loop for maybe a little bit and move forward.
On to the next.
So it's
I understand
hard.
that. But fuck, I feel like that's an interesting challenge when it comes to performing things.
It is,
because it's like, because that is a different muscle. And I think about it, like that's why like there's the whole muscle of like people that write the music and make the music, and the people that be out in the band performing it, because it really take a lot to sit there every night and like jam. You almost have to like memorize it to the point that it gets freestyly. Exactly. That's what I've learned. Where before me, it's like I just memorize the verse to the point where then I'm freestyling it to a sense where I can then add extra shit on it, because I know so much like what the next bar is gonna be, then I can add oomph on it. But you know what I'm saying, when I first memorize it, I can't really add as much oomph because it's too memorization-y. Yeah. But then when I get in the oomph zone, like then it feels a little bit more looser, if you will, because I'm like, okay, like I know it's gonna come. I'm not thinking about it as much, but it takes a lot of memorization and shit to get to the I'm not thinking about it as much.
It takes definitely a lot of practice so you can get up there and not worry about it, because it is that like once you're up there and you're not worried and you're just like, this is what it is, I'm gonna just throw the emphasis out there and just kind of like let it all go, and just
can
like
make changes.
Really,
you can kind of make improvisations on what you memorized at that point.
Different,
and that's
different
what frees you up.
Cadences and different like pauses and.
Whilst I get that, and like,
but that's still a hurdle. It's
a hurdle because you got to get through that whole because like I said, when I used to do like concert recitals as a kid, like I would have to memorize these songs, and I'd practice these songs for fucking hours and like really get them down, because I need to make sure I have them down. And when I perform them, like I was at least confident, like I know this song, I know I can play it. I'm just got to get it over the thing of like
that's
playing
what got
over
me
people.
To stop taking piano lessons. I think like you describing what exactly got me to stop taking piano lessons at like 9 years old.
That's why I never learned my scales.
I literally did one recital and said, damn, this was like a lot. And then I had to start like practicing again, and it just was no more fun. It was no more fun. I was like, this is it. Like
it's a huge burnout. I had to stick with it, for some time, for family pressures of like, which I'm at the end of the day I'm kind of glad for, because like it did set like a huge foundation for me for what I went on to do later in life. And even then there was a lot of stuff that I took away from music that I was able to apply in life from those young classes as a kid. But I can't deny how much I I know how much I didn't like having to sit down and constantly like just practice the same thing over and over and over.
Like it was a good base, a good like learning lesson, but would you want to keep doing it and keep doing it?
The teacher should have just hit me with the move on to the next song. She should have just hit me with the all right, like that one maybe not giving it to you no more. You don't really want to learn that one no more.
I even tried low key, like I remember offering like, all right, meet you a middle ground. Like I won't drop it completely, but I want to learn at this point. Like this was, I'm trying to think of when I was as a kid that I stopped playing piano. I honestly can't remember exactly, but I want to say maybe around like 4th grade, roughly, give or take a couple of years, right? And at this point, I was with my cousins, I was with my uncle. We were listening to a lot more rock and roll. Like I'd always been listening to rock and roll. Like I was, like it was a very rock heavy house at the time, right? Way different style of music of classical Beethoven and like Mozart and all these different styles of stuff. So I was like, I don't want to be learning like, all right, at least if you're gonna force me to learn music and I have to learn, if I have to like sit down and memorize, let me memorize the cool stuff. Let me memorize like the stuff I want to learn. No, that's not an option. Oh, okay, well I'm out completely then. And so that really drove me. I hate having been like you said,
it's tough, especially if you like, if it's classical. It's like if you don't want to do it, that makes it even harder. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like if getting into the groove of like performing your own stuff, and like once you find that like that flow of it, and like it'd be no problem to be like, oh, this is my shit, I'm about to show my, you know, what I got, you know, as opposed to like, yep, this is what Beethoven wrote.
Yeah, exactly.
And just gotta like do it. I feel like that's probably like way more meticulous than even like preparing to perform, because I don't think I could play Beethoven in a million years. You feel me? It's not happening.
That's actually a great point, because you're set up to expected to play as good as this fucking master, this person who did this literal masterpiece, you know what I mean, years ago, that stood the test of time. And it's like,
how long has it been since he played it?
Exactly, but like, and you know, did he really play it as nice that first time, like, or especially
for real?
But it comes down to like, now, because we know what it's supposed to sound like, and people have, you know, there's been the top symphonies and orchestras and all this stuff that play this song, like it's I guess maybe that's why it's used, because we know what it's supposed to sound like. So if you fuck it up, they're like, you fucked up, you know what I mean? Like, we heard that note, it definitely sounds wrong, we know it's not supposed to be there.
I've heard something about J. Cole saying that one time in some interview, and then he was saying oh, they fucked it up when they did that.
What do you mean?
Like when they just labeled everything, but for that reason, exactly, but because then it was really for the reason of just, you could say, oh, this was the right way or this was the wrong way, or
that's on some deeper shit, because that goes to like human instinct. And an argument can be made that like when we started labeling things too much is when divisiveness happens, and then when we started fucking up on a lot of things, whether like literally
especially
any and
within
everything.
Music, like when we started saying like, when you make this one and this one and this one, it's this and shit, it's like it kind of took the creativity out of motherfuckers figuring out what it was and shit.
It's facts.
You gotta have the free flow, free form. Like, you gotta be able to do what you want to do. Otherwise, you're just doing it how somebody else wants, you know?
Very true.
That's no good.
That's interesting. But on the top, before we get into the life affirmations part, I wanted to talk about music a little bit. I wanted to get into, you know, like what you got coming out, what other music and stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, yeah, you just like, I guess plans and shit, like going forward with the music, like what you want to like drop type stuff like that. I know we talk about that a little bit here and there. Usually we talk about music in that part, like other stuff we're listening to, but I feel like right now, it's summertime, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's about to be summer. It's spring, but
it's about to be summer.
It's about to be summer already. I'm looking past it, and like it's time, man.
Yeah, I think, well, for me, like I have a single coming out very soon. I don't have a date for it yet, but it's all like, you know, packaged up, ready to go. It's called Devilish Part 2. It's going to be on all streaming platforms. And I mean, aside from that, like right now, like I'm just looking at putting out a bunch of singles. Just putting out singles at least until like the middle, or like maybe so like the end of the year. Like singles. I definitely have like more than a few in the bag that are like either ready to go or, you know, need a little tweaking here and there, but like they're on that list of, all right, I'm gonna drop this one. And other than that, you know, music videos for show, for like, you know, those ones that are really popping, like that's where I want that, like that real production quality. I like that when it comes to music videos. So shout out to my guy Gray's Multimedia. He makes dope music videos, so, you know, I'm looking to connect with him and in the future, you know what I'm saying, when things line up. And other than that, like I really, really want to get back to performing. Like I feel like, especially like as a hip hop artist, like that's definitely like one thing that I miss about this music shit. Like getting ready for a show, like, oh, we got the show at the end of the week, everybody come out, you know, and just going out there and doing a damn thing. Like I really, hopefully like summer comes around and I can do that more. You know what I'm saying? And just looking for more avenues to expand and also like collaborate with other people. You know what I'm saying? I've always like made songs with the homie Visions, but you know, there's a lot of artists, a lot of dope music out there. So, you know what I'm saying? It's like time to expand, time to like, you know, like you were saying, like learn something, you know what I'm saying, from somebody else, because 2 heads are always better than 1, 3, 4, you know what I'm saying?
That part. I definitely agree with that. I'm kind of on the same move because a lot of our brand is like, since we're Divine Tree, like expanding and collaborating with other people and artists, like all different types. So I think that's for sure we gonna like continue to do and like expand further than that. But something I need to work on in the area is definitely like the performance tip. I definitely see like you guys were like on the grind with that, and I definitely think that's something that like we're on the like grind to like get going, at least on like honing our skills and like getting out there and really just like sharpening up the shit.
Y'all have merch too, like that's perfect for that, you know what I'm saying? I don't have any. That's another thing I need some merch, you know what I'm saying, whether it's like t-shirts or like pins or stickers or whatever it is. But
and we got you guys on all that shit too. We got like stickers for you, and like also we trying to get into the like visual shit. We have a lot of visuals already, but I feel like that's kind of like where we're headed a lot with, like, because we love that shit, like the graphic design, digital design, all that. And that's something we feel like the COVID really kind of in some degree hindered us from getting to use in like shows and shit, because we had a lot of shit for that. So that's kind of like the cool thing we want to get and like test out there, like just kind of like adding the visual aspect like to the shit, because it's like if I already got some like live energy for you, like, I'll get out there and like die and roll around and like do some like GG Allen shit, and like Mauricio got my back on like making it look like a movie, like, you feel me?
Oh yeah, no, I'm excited honestly to perform. I know that pre-COVID we were already planning like a performance, and thanks to COVID it pushed it back significantly alongside other things. But like once, it's definitely something that I'm looking forward to, and I'm looking forward to, like you said, sharpening those skills, getting our feet a little bit more wet with the performance side of thing. And I think the big thing that I'm excited for is to have performances alongside, like inviting you to join us if you like.
I'd be down as hell.
You know what I mean? Other friends of ours, and making it like a really just as soon as we can, like it's something along the lines of what we were already planning a year basically ago from now, maybe a little bit more, but kind of keeping that same vibe of trying to do something that's a lot of our friends, and just making like a big show, big like, yo, let's start this off right, let's start this off dope, you know?
Because in our opinion, if we do that right, we could like get it going and have different shows and like more things happen, and like people come, because it's like people come for like inexperience, and like performance wise, like if we can kind of like give that, people will keep coming to like keep getting new shit. Like I've been to like mad things like that for years on bigger scales that weren't even at the bigger scale. Shout out to Count Floyd. Where it's like I've been to that too many times to count, and it's been like more so because of the experience itself has just been dope, bro.
You go to have a good time, you know what I'm saying?
That's facts. That's very true.
So now getting to the young life affirmation section, we could talk a little bit about, you know, something that we've looked at differently in the past 2 weeks or month or year, or however we want to go. And now, you know, we look at it this way. And I'll probably start usually because it gives some people, you know, time to gather what they want to say about it. I haven't personally thought a lot about it today because I've been sharing a lot of these ones here and there on the pod, but I would say, speaking about the things we talked about today, I would say performance-wise, maybe I could look at something like I looked at performance-wise one way, and now I look at it differently, was maybe having to do with, how do I say, personality. Like I used to kind of think about it like sports, like I had to like execute it, and now I realize like I like my personality a bit more, and like I didn't never like remember like our likeness. I had like an issue with maybe how I was gonna portray that or how I was gonna go about myself on stage. And now I think I kind of look at it like that's kind of like a part of what it is. Like I like JPEG, he's one of my favorite artists, and I look at him a lot to think a lot of the things I like about him is deeper than how he performs. It's like the whole, like he's performing when he's up there.
He be going
Like
crazy.
the way
He'd be
he's
like,
like talking and thinks he's when he decides to get water, like when he all of that is one thing. And I think that's the bigger thing I've looked at it, that it's like when you get out there, like you really like almost get in your acting bag, but like being yourself. It's like kind of get to let loose, but you let loose in a way that's like performative or whatever, but not like in a negative way. Like kind of like to represent what you want to represent, like in your songs, like kind of like all that performative dance type shit I've been looking into. Like
It's not like acting as much as it is like really like setting free and letting the people know who you are.
yeah, like
like
kind of
that.
understanding
I
like the I guess maybe understanding that like even past the skill point of me like saying something and like expressing it a certain way, there's also like the delivery, there's a different delivery that comes in when I'm performing it. That's something I maybe looked at differently going back to like a year ago. It's not like a recent thing, but it's more so like in whole I kind of looked at, like I added that more into it.
Okay. I fuck with it. I see what you mean.
I dig that.
Personally, for me, one thing that I had to, I don't know, it was a bit of a, oh wow, look at this dove that just showed up. What up, Mr. Dove?
It's popping, bird.
Or Miss Dove, or no title dove. But what's it called? What was I saying? Oh, one thing that was not necessarily like a change of thought, but more kind of like an affirmation of like, what is the limits of, and this is on like a whole different topic deal, but this is like, what are the limits of like belief? Like, even though if I don't believe in something, does that mean that I can't be there to participate in something for someone else to help them? And this relates directly to like a family member of mine had passed away, and well, to be more specific, it'd be more, actually I don't know, I don't want to keep too many specifics on here, but I'm gonna keep it a little vague. A family member of mine had passed away, and there's a certain they belong to a certain religion, right? And they were gonna do a certain ceremony to celebrate the religion, and they had invited some family and friends, and some other family and friends had been they're from a different religion, and so they had a little bit of a gripe of, why are you doing this? Why do we want to be part of this? And it was kind of like, it affected in a way where it's like, do you really have to negate yourself of being part of something because you're not that religion? I understand like, or being part of something because you're not of that group, and I understand like not wanting to do something for that reason to an extent, but there's also, when it comes down to like the loss of life of a loved one, and wanting to be there for the other loved ones that you have in your life, and wanting to be there for their healing and your own healing possibly, and so I had to, and I'm not part of either of those two religions that they're both in, and so I was put in the same position, like, do I go or do I not go? And I wanted to go because I wanted to celebrate the life of the loved one, and I wanted to help the healing of the other people who wanted to celebrate the life and to heal in the way that they did. And so it was a battle, because seeing like the struggle between the family members because some people didn't see it the same way as I did, and so they were super good on it. They're like, no, we're not going to show up, we're not going to do this. And so it created like a drift, and it's like, it's this unnecessary drift that doesn't have to exist, but it exists due to certain like and it's weird because they blame it on religion, but ultimately, like, it wasn't like, if you break down the topics of what they were doing, it's like, was it really religious what they were avoiding, or was it just you didn't want to be there for
just principles wise?
Yeah, principles wise. And so it was kind of like a battle of principles, and so it was kind of assessing my own, because like I said, even though I didn't belong to either of those religions, like I was still in the same similar position where it was like,
you assessed your principles.
Exactly.
You're like, what are mine on this topic?
Exactly. So I had to think of like, where do I stand with this? And so that was just kind of my recent affirmation.
I dig that. I think mine, and you came over to the pad the other day. We made that little fire track and told me about the affirmations. And I thought about it for like a day, and I think my biggest one, especially like right now, is just like, the balance between like work and like being creative and making music, because of course making money is definitely very important, but it kind of gets to a point where you're making money, yes, but like you're kind of exhausted, or like you might not want to work on music a little bit, or stuff like that. It's like So on one side, it's a benefit. Yeah, you're making money, and you're doing, like, you could say, like, good for yourself. I mean, I'm obviously not like some CEO. I'm not like stacking money in the bank. So, like, it's like, is that all really, as far as like the type of job that I have, is that really worth it? As opposed to, like, it's like when it starts like cutting into your like creative space and like how you're able to like feel relaxed and be able to make music. You know what I'm saying? So I'm kind of at this crossroads where it's like, I just want to make music, and anything that's like kind of getting in the way of that, like, especially like work, and let's find another route. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not, yeah, the money's nice. It's cool to have money, but, I'd rather have like my free space, and like, I think peace of mind is like the biggest aspect of it.
No, I agree with that. I agree very wholeheartedly with that, the whole sentiment. For me, what I've been finding, because part of that is like, we've been trying to, I feel like Wesley and I both stand in that lane where we care more about the artistry than anything. We care about doing something that we like to have fun with, we think is cool, and we hope everyone else think will be cool,
Mm-hmm.
In 10, 30, 100 years from now. But in order to expand it to get to that point where it's recognizable, sometimes you need to address it from the money aspect of, like, you need money for marketing, you need money to even put these songs out on the platforms, you need money to do so. There is a certain necessity of it, and I hate that there is, and I hate that there's like a whole part of, because it's the music business, and it's the music business.
There's the
I mean?
music and then the business side.
Exactly. But because of that, it's about finding, and I think it's something that Wesley and I have been trying to focus on, it's about finding people to expand on a team, and people that are more inclined to care about that kind of stuff, and to put that focus into those things, so where they can alleviate that kind of pressure off of us, so that we can focus on more of the creative aspects, and focus more on the stuff that we enjoy, that we want to do, as opposed to the stuff that we have to do because as a result of being part of this business aspect of it.
Definitely found myself in that boat, especially when it comes to the whole, like, now about to graduate college and kind of like figuring out what job I want to do to like just work on music. I've definitely had experience like that, so I'm taking that in account a lot, like, lately, as to be like, what kind of way can I garner money for this that won't necessarily like take me out of being able to do what we're trying to set up to be able to do.
You gotta stay in your bag.
Because I already know, like, that's always the goal, like, to be able to kind of like if you Steve Jobs, like, you need X amount of times or whatever in your thing to get your ideas off, and like, but you need people to help you free up that time, because you got mad shit, you know what I'm saying, that you need to do. So I feel like that's what kind of like the end goal is what he's saying, like, getting to that point, obviously, where it's like, because that's kind of how I feel like it'll flow better in some sense. Like, if your shit is, you feel like it's good and you gonna market and have a bunch of shit around it, it flows better when you have time to really think about it and fully make the best shit you can make.
Yeah, just worry about the music, just like how you said, like, the artistry, like, not trying to worry about all the extras, just trying to get in the bag and do it,
just to the extent that you need to, I guess. And then it's like, even then, sometimes when you go into them, like, I gotta worry about this shit this much to get it going. When you divvy that up, sometimes it's a little bit tough on your own. Like, it's a little bit like, damn.
It's very true.
Hindering almost. Yeah, I felt that way about like just putting out my own stuff, and it's like, I like worrying about the music. I don't like worrying about like the marketing and the this and the that of it. Like, nah, let me just make the music, you know what I'm saying? But it all comes in steps. Hopefully that shit free up. I did have one more actually on the thing you said, and you kind of said it earlier too, when like, it's like being worried about the artistry, you know what I'm saying, and like, you want something that's gonna last and the people are really gonna enjoy. Like, one thing that like did hinder me in the past of putting stuff out is like, oh, like, what image am I portraying, like how you said when you get up on stage, like. But I think the most important part is, as I'm like coming into it, like, just having fun, enjoying making it, and then put it out for the people, you know what I'm saying? Let the people decide, and they'll be the ones to be like, oh, okay, like, they'll make the type beats for you type of thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, they paint the picture, but, no, wait, not paint the picture. They interpret the picture, but you paint it, you know what I'm saying? But you got to put it out there for interpretation. I think that's important.
It's true.
That's a big one.
That's a cool way to look at it. But I think the cool thing about that, and like, cool and hard thing, like, the cool thing is you're setting up for the interpretation of the people, right? and it's having that degree of not caring what that interpretation is at the same time, though, because if you put too much weight on like the response, sometimes like it can affect the level of artistry, how much you're putting into it, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
you can't worry about that. You gotta, I mean, it's like a fine line.
Yeah, it's a fine line. It's a hard one.
It's like you gotta, it's gotta be
push
good.
each other.
Yeah, it's gotta be good, and you can't just be like, fuck what the people think, I'm gonna make this and that. But it's gotta be something that, you know, they'll enjoy, at least.
And it's hard because like you want to make something that's like fuck it, I don't care what they think. But at the end of the day, if they're like, yo, that's dope, like personally speaking, like I know that I'll be like, if I put out something like, I don't really care, and then they're like, that's dope, like it make, you know, gives you like a little tingle, like, all right, that's cool, thank you, like I do got it. Yeah, I appreciate that. You know, and so it's kind of like, to an extent, it's like a feedback loop, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're even the people that are like super marketed as like not giving a fuck, like
they're
marketing as not giving a fuck.
They're marketed,
you know what I mean?
that way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
I could definitely give a tidbit on that from what I was telling you one time about the little experience on Clubhouse that I've had, which is like this like app. Have you heard about that shit? It's like an app where people voice chat on like phone or whatever.
I've heard of like Chatty House.
But it's kind of like
the same thing. But
it's the same thing.
Okay, go ahead.
But essentially, like I think that's just like a nickname for it.
Oh, word.
But the funny thing is that going off what you guys were saying, like, were you just getting at like the
level of like the feedback loop of
the feedback loop. That's what I was gonna say, that you get different perspectives from people on your stuff that you necessarily kind of wouldn't get to see your shit in, and you don't want to like let them dictate it, but to some degree that is very valuable, is what I've been learning to see, because it is looking at your stuff from a perspective like that you don't really get to see often,
outside
like
of yourself.
The real like outside yourself consumer perspective, like, and it kind of, even though you don't want that to just control you, it does help though, because you're seeing it in that like and I feel like on there, to add a little more context, I was like in certain rooms they have stuff where you play music and like you submit it, and it was like I was seeing the reactions in real time where it was the feedback loop where I'm like, okay, people are giving feedback, and then I'm seeing how like, but at the same time like I'm seeing how the not give a fuck songs where it's like, I love this song. Like, and then I put it out and to them, and it's like, this person didn't fuck with it. Oh, this person did. Like, and you're seeing why the person who didn't fuck with it didn't fuck with it, and why the person who did really did. And that's kind of what it's about.
I want to talk about that moment specifically, because I remember when you told me about this, because you were having that conversation, I was like, as soon as you told me, because you said, I put this song up, and the first reaction I got from it was someone that was like,
you kind of heard them in the cut trying to like get out there and their burnout about it.
Yeah, you know.
But then everyone kind of in the beginning tries to jump in front of each other, like right after the thing to say shit. So some other dude kind of got his shit off.
But the fact, when you told me that someone was burnt out on it, I loved that. Because you know what that means? Because I believe in balance. If someone hates it, someone else loves it.
I fuck with that.
Immediately after, Wesley told me, he's like, this person was burnt out. They're like, next song, like, dude, whatever, right? The next person that comes in after her was like, yo, no, this was dope. Like, I fuck with this, I'm sure Wesley can go more in detail.
He was a bit from like a different background. He seemed older. It was like an older white dude, and he really liked it. And he thought it was kind of like some movie type, like punk rock type shit. But it was interesting because I would say it wasn't like playing. It didn't sound mixed as dope as like I would like it to sound over what they were playing it on. But
of course.
Like, but it was cool. Like, he still had a really like a different reaction to it, which was completely different, and it was kind of shocking to some of the other people to see how striking it was with someone else in that room. And then I started to see some of the other heads in the room be like, "Yo, man, you right. I can kind of see it." Like, like they was trying to like ride him a little bit,
and that falls into a different.
You got people
loop.
bouncing off each other, like, "Oh, what about this?" And then now they're actually talking about it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, once I heard, like, if he didn't say anything and she might just hate it, I guarantee you they would have probably just rocked with what she said and been like,
it's like bandwagon,
which they would have just kind of been,
it just snowballs.
Or they might have not said nothing and kind of just been like, well, it's all good. But because he said something and then they kind of thought about it in the two different ways, that you got to see that whole feedback loop of being like, okay, this is the crowd, this is two people that have striking opinions on different ends, like, kind of what you want.
Yeah, no, it's true, but it's cool. I just at the end of the day though, like I said, if someone hates it, I love it, because that's a strong emotion that we were able to get out of them. But that means that there's someone else in the world somewhere that loves it to that same extent. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
just because that's sick.
Just because one person doesn't like it doesn't mean it's not unlikable. It's just that one person, and there's definitely bound to be somebody, multiple people, hundreds of people, thousands who are gonna rock with that shit.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That part.
That was dope, though.
Shit.
I think we had a really good talk there.
I fuck with this.
That was super sick. Thank you for coming on,
Yeah,
bro.
thank you again for inviting me, guys. It was a really good time. First podcast ever. I fuck with it.
Let's go, for sure.
Yes, sir.
Actually, hella good having you on, bro. It's good to be with people that, like, I know well. It's really just, like, fun to just, like, dive into anything and, like, other stuff. I feel like I get extra comfortable and, like, able to talk about, like, cool stuff.
Hell yeah.
Cool, man. Well,
Nice.
we're ready to close it out here, get to the little music section, check if the camera's still good. But we'll close out first, you know? So thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Derek, for coming through,
You're
chilling with us.
hell yeah.
Thank you. Dude, it was amazing. We got to get back to the stew, though. We got to get back in there.
That part, I'm down. I'm
I'm
always
with
down.
that.
You feel me? Hell yeah.
I'm super down with it now. Like right now, I think we yacking. Like, you sent the beat, we recorded some shit right then and there, bro. Because it's like I got in the zone to like really want to record, and I think I'm still in it, bro.
And that was hard. Those verses both of you guys sent were killer, honestly.
Thank you, bro.
And I didn't even freestyle that one. I just wrote it.
Okay. Nice.
Shout out to the vibes. Definitely need to get back in the stew.
Well, thank you, everybody, for listening, and
Catch you guys
peace
soon.
out.
Mind Tree Radio.
Gas that shit, lose your mind when you hear this flow. It's like crack rock every time I get another they wanna know what time I'm spitting on this shit like Busta Rhymes. The way I hit they mind, break it open like a lime. Anytime I let go of something, I tell them scary shit gon' happen like my name is something. I got a bar for every time I step up on the beat. Backflip, somersault, anytime I hit him summer heat. I'm flying past the competition. It's like a race, but you know I'm winning. Marathon minded way I'm sliding through it. I see the bag so close, I taste it fluid. The way I move, the way I move, the way I move, the way I move.
A silent dude, I keep it cool. Ain't no telling what I might just do. I keep it crude, pick and choosing like I eat my food. Fat nigga with the silly groove, whistle blow and never play the flute. Yeah, life is easy, you just gotta choose. Flex is crazy, I'm just chillin', dude. Fuck it, life is crazy, mind gets to racing, and then it turns to getting hazy. Shit is brazy, giving fuck about what they saying. I get this.
Flying past the competition. It's like a race, but you know I'm winning. Marathon minded way I'm sliding through it. I see the bag so close, I taste it fluid. The way I move, the way I move, the way I move, the way I move. A nigga sliding, you can see me gliding. Top down, bass up, look at the horizon. It's a good day. Shout out to Cube, I been that dude. Just peep the hue, a nigga always keep it true. We drinking plenty, tequila maybe Henny. Could break the levee, flow with it, keep it steady. Vibes on point, living high, no joint. I don't even need it. Crown chakra, how I seen the zenith. Flying past the competition. It's like a race, but you know I'm winning. Marathon minded way I'm sliding through it. I see the bag so close, I taste it fluid. The way I move, the way I move, the way I move, the way I move.
Mind Tree Radio.
Made plans with the devil and that nigga flaked. Guess he wasn't even really about his cake. I was watching for the snakes, they were watching what I make. I was told it's important how the product gets placed. Okay, what's done inside the dark's coming from the heart. Ain't no climbing chart, shooting like a dart. Life is a stage, only you can can pick your part. Only I'm your worst nightmare like a Bogart. Don't start me, exacto flow been moving sharply. Crown on my head like Archie. This is too starchy. The money been crispier than some chicken. You don't want a piece of this beef, take chitlins. Passing free smoke like free throws. The way I move, you would've thought that I had cheat codes. Call them in, cause I'm murdering the sheep. The speech gets deep way past all these coral reef flows. Niggas catching waves, niggas getting paid. Precision with the blade, I'ma make a wave to ya from the front of my estate. Then the headshot's gonna leave you in your place. Dancing with the devil, make a move. Had to roll the dice, I ain't have a thing to lose. Looking up, that's a beautiful view. Then to fall back down, probably leaving a bruise. Yeah, I still fly close to the sun. Winning many battles, but the war's never won. It's the same old thing, nothing but a rerun. I spun the world in my hand, then I begun. And I begun, and I begun, and I begun, and I begun.
Shit.
It's time for the moment you've been waiting for.
Shit. Oh man, get them off me. Got the wet flow, leave the paper looking soggy. Back and forth with it, this is nothing but a volley. The phone dry, I don't really hear the money calling. Will money be the root of all evil? Donate to the church just to raise another steeple. Had to start a war just to keep things peaceful. Pushing you a sickness right before they push the needle. It's two sides to the same coin. Good cop, bad cop, what you gonna join? Either way, I guess you gotta keep it going. On a crazy train and this bitch ain't slowing. It's two sides to the same coin. Good cop, bad cop, what you gonna join? Either way, I guess you gotta keep it going. On a crazy train and this bitch ain't slowing. Two-step with imagination. Try to turn the dial, but it's still the same station. Heard that I gotta stay patient, and the government wanna keep me as a patient. So I stay sicker than the world. Open up my hands and you finna find a pearl. Take what you seek, leave the rest. Yes, every single day gotta face another test. Young nigga never studied till the day before. Dig a deeper ditch, I could race you to the core. The floorboards creaking, that's those demons creeping. They just trying to get even. I made friends with them, now I get ends with them. Put it in your hands and the story gets penned different. Two sides to the coin. Dance with the devil, you should join. Bitch!